Your
a lot of
conscience,
sense, actually.
for instance,
That makes a lot of sense.
I reckon your conscience is a higher part of you in the etheric world. It's not an outside agency. So that will get over the reincarnation bit.
Right.
It just adds to the whole.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because I went to a medium and got a message from somebody who I knew in a past life who is now reincarnated. And that was very puzzling at the time, because I thought, well, how can I be getting a message from the spirit world if he's back here?
Yeah, well,
but,
I think this is a bit
also,
more complicated
also
than we
ghosts,
think, yeah.
because when I went back to the house where I lived in the previous life, it was haunted. And I think that was a little bit of me, because once I'd gone back to that house, I changed.
Yes.
I became very much more confident. I got over phobias of flying and phobias of the dentist and all that kind of thing. So I think that some ghosts, I think, are maybe like recordings.
It's action replays of the past.
Action replays of traumatic events. But I think some are bits of you from a past life that got left there.
That's right.
And you literally have to, you need to remember that particular past life, so you remember it, you go back there, and you pick up that piece of you.
That's right. And my great hero, for example, is Thomas Paine, the great English philosopher, and of course Arthur Finlay, whose work I'm just carrying on doing here. And I want to meet them when I go into the next world. I don't want to hear that they've reincarnated.
That's another thing, isn't it?
But only a bit of them apparently would reincarnate. So I'll still be able to meet the main man, sort of thing. That's how I reckon it works.
When I was regressed to when I died, in that life I actually committed suicide. I jumped off the top of a house, committed suicide. And the first time I went, it was just too traumatic to sort of face it, you know. But the second time I was regressed to it, and I'm going to be regressed on the show next week, I think it is. I actually went into this white light. I actually was absorbed, and it was like as if there was this whole group of people I knew waiting there, or parts of them. And as I actually sort of hit the ground, there was no pain. It was just simply absorbed into this white light, which I found quite comforting.
Yeah.
It's all totally fascinating, all this.
Well, it's wonderful to think that there's nothing to be feared about. We're only plugged into this spacesuit for a very short time. Life's incredibly short, isn't it?
I have read books about this before. I'm just trying to think of the name of one of them, which was totally fascinating. This guy had died twice through lightning strikes, and he actually had died, was taken to the hospital, put in the morgue, and was only because his brother went to lift the sheet to look at him, and he managed to blow the sheet, and his brother said he's still alive. And this is all recorded, you know. I mean, the guy was pronounced dead.
Well, that's happening very often.
And he was pronounced dead for several hours.
Yes.
And you know, came to under this sheet in the morgue, but couldn't move. And the only thing he managed to do was blow the sheet, and so his brother noticed he was alive. But he was saying that while he was dead, he went to sort of college. He was telling us about this college he went to.
This is a near-death experience.
Learned things. Yeah. But it was like he was gone for maybe 3 hours. I can't remember what it was, but to him it was like he was gone for 3 years.
Oh, right.
And he was shown all kinds of amazing stuff, and he's talking about the same kind of stuff that you are, really. That's about how he then learnt to do astral travel, and would meet up with people from the spirit world and in restaurants and things. And it all sounded very wild.
Well,
but,
Raymond Lodge, who I sat next to and fired these questions, and he said they're adamant they don't need a vehicle to travel in.
That's right.
They travel by mind projection, I take it.
Yeah, I mean, we want that improvement at least, don't we?
You haven't got to worry about transport.
You should try getting into Taunton from where I live every day. It's murder. Oh dear, my voice is going. Can you talk for a bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, the main thing about Pearson's work is it has been peer-refereed and published by physicists. Here's the Russian textbook.
Oh, there's even a Russian.
He went to the Sir Isaac Newton conference in St. Petersburg, and his work has been peer-refereed and published by the Russian Academy of Sciences here. All he's done is extend Newtonian physics to match up with these experiments. You've got to make your mathematics match up with the experiments.
And that's unfortunately what most of us can't understand, can we?
What they've done, orthodox science, they've thrown out what's known as the ether. When Einstein's theory of relativity came on the scene, they threw out the ether and the spirit world. There's no way you can have survival after death if you're following Einstein's theory of relativity. So at last it's now easing out, and they're bringing back the ether. Only last week about the Hubble telescope they're talking about the dark energy. It's only another fancy word for ether. But they're very embarrassed having thrown out the ether, so they brought it back under a new name, dark energy, and that's what Pearson's published. And here he's published in America as well. This is a main frontline, Temple University.
Frontier Perspectives.
He's been peer refereed and published in Frontier Perspectives. But he had to go abroad. He's an English scientist. He should be published in his own country.
We're always 10 years behind the Americans, aren't we?
Anyway, we're crashing through now. We've got the experimental proof of survival. We've now got the mathematics to back it up. And all we have to do is just present it.
Okay.
Same as the round earthers.
We'll come back after the break and we'll speak some more to Michael in a minute. Welcome back. Now, this is the book by John Logie Baird, who most people know as the inventor of what we're watching right now, television.
Indeed.
And he wrote a book about his experiences.
This is his memoirs, only recently published by the Royal Television Society. And it's what a mine of information in there.
Really?
He's there with Sir Oliver Lodge, the inventor of radio. Sir Oliver Lodge invented radio, not Marconi, as we've been told. He sent a radio signal 1 year before Marconi. And there's a picture of Baird working with Sir Oliver Lodge. And in the text, Baird tells how one of his scientific colleagues took part in one of these experiments and actually took the fingerprints of somebody who fully materialized and then compared them to the prints on the dead physical body, and they were identical. And that would have been enough to hang somebody in this country not all that long ago. Fingerprint evidence of survival.
I mean, if this was carried out by these respected scientists of the day and he actually took these fingerprints, how come people don't believe it?
Well, they don't question believing it because they haven't had access to this work until the Jenny Smedley show.
But it's out now.
Yes,
but I mean, the book
you.
is published, so they can.
Yes, but it only went out to this is a limited publication, and it only went out to 3 blokes and a dog, so to speak. It should be going out to millions, but it's not.
Absolutely.
But now you've held it up. I'm hoping they'll republish it, and millions will buy it.
And people can get all this information from you.
That's why if you send
you a stamped
address envelope free of charge, you've got all the references you can check out.
If you'd like to give out your name and address, Michael, now, and I'll also put it on teletext in case anybody misses it.
If you can remember, 28 Westerly Road, Downend, Bristol, BS 16 6AH. And doesn't matter how many you send, I'll send
So if they send you self-stamped addressed envelopes,
that's right,
then you will send them all the details.
And I've got friends who are helping me crash through the barriers, and all these publications are paid for by friends. So
that's great.
So no money is being made out of this.
Okay, don't forget.